We both love each other very much. We're very fortunate that we have 4 extraordinary children, and we're taking one day at a time.
What do you think? How did he hide this for 10 years?
I have no idea how he hid it. I just hope that the media remembers that he has 4 kids. Because, you know, oftentimes when we talk about these political figures, we criticize them, and rightfully so. But he has 4 kids, and they didn't ask to be in the spotlight. So, you know, we have to consider. And the youngest one, I think, is 13. But I have no idea how he managed to pull this off, so to speak. It's sad, and it's a sad statement on the state of the family, frankly.
You know, to me, the most disturbing thing about this story is the way the media is talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger, same way they're talking about Dominique Strauss-Kahn, the IMF head, which is, oh, you know, this is just guys being guys. I mean, there's a difference between...
One is rape and one is a consensual relationship.
No, but let's be clear. When Schwarzenegger ran for office, and it was actually Maria, his wife, who rescued him from this, 16 women came out with allegations of very serious sexual harassment on the workplace.
Nobody accused him of rape.
Oh, but come on. We're slippery scale. We're talking...
Slippery scale?
No,
it's quite a difference,
Sean,
though.
No, there is not a difference between consensual sexual activity and non-consensual sexual activity. Same thing with Dominique Strauss-Kahn. You saw the past few years, him engaging in unwelcome, unwarranted sexual activity. We have to call a spade and not just say these guys are players, they're predators.
Flirting and nothing to the extent trying to force a woman to have sex.
No, we're talking about
clear
allegations. He put his hand down women's skirts, interns during films that they were working under him.
You're saying we should have seen this coming?
I'm saying we shouldn't just be like, oh, he's just a guy. Oh,
I don't know. I don't say that. What do you say?
I'm more worried about the fact that what he did to the taxpayers in California was an abomination. And I think, you know, it's too bad when we see public officials stumble like this. And I agree, you know, let's let them handle it as a family. But let's not forget that he came in trying to be a conservative and rescue the economy in California, and he left changing his mind on almost every policy and leaving a wreck behind.
All right, let's move on. Nancy Pelosi. So all this talk about health care, all liberals lecturing us, you got to pass the bill to know what's in the bill, all these stuff. Isn't it interesting that in April, 204 waivers were given and granted? And by the way, 20% of them were from Nancy Pelosi's own district.
Yeah, I didn't know that in order to get my waiver, I had to go found an elitist restaurant in San Francisco. Now that I know that, maybe I'll go there and make that happen. But, you know, you'd think they would think if we have to give out all these waivers, the legislation is flawed. Now, over 50% of people don't want it. They're voicing strong support for repeal.
Look at the number of unions that have gotten it.
Sure.
Look at all the liberal groups that have gotten it. What are you shaking your head for? Wait a minute, wait.
It's proof that it works. It's proof that it works. If they can get waivers, people want exactly. There are reasons to give waivers, which is so that the law.
They would lose their job.
I want a waiver. Can I have a waiver?
I want a waiver.
1,300 temporary waivers have been granted for a law, by the way, that is it's a temporary process.
And most of them pay back to liberal groups, Matt. That's the point.
That's right. Let's face it. The waiver is the new earmark. If you talk to the right member of Congress and you have the right influence, you don't have to have this bill apply to you. And why do they need these waivers? Because if they don't get the waiver, they get rid of the
guy who runs the company, the benefits company, which, by the way, applied for a blanket set of waivers for businesses also in Georgia, in Alaska, in Washington State. Not only is a Republican donor.
What's good for every other company, it needs to be across the board. But the fact that this is happening in her district when she was so hell-bent on ramming it down our throat and they were bribing senators to get their votes.
It's a skewed statistics. 1,300 waivers. Only 100 have been denied total, and they've been in every state.
Yeah, why do we need all their political cronies get it? That's corruption.
They're not political cronies.
Sure,
the same people who are saying we shouldn't care about political donors.
Absolutely not.
Well, we got my blood pressure's going up. Time now to check in with Greta to get a sneak peek of what is on the record tonight in 19 minutes. Greta.
You think your blood pressure is high? Imagine having former Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich on tonight. He's thrown a stink bomb into the Republican Party. So he's going to be joining us at the top of the hour to find out exactly what he said, why he said it, and how he gets himself out of this one.
All right, we'll be watching 19 minutes from now. Greta goes on the record, and my debate with Rob Lowe. Why is Hollywood so liberal? And more with our Great American panel next. And we continue now with our Great American panel. All right, Congressman Allen West, he obliterates an Obama official at a hearing. Watch this.
What has been broken in the procurement process up to this point, which leads to that draft executive order?
The fact is, enormous numbers of dollars of taxpayer funds are at risk in the procurement system, and in order to instill confidence in the public, you want to have as much transparency as you can.
I can understand after a contract is awarded, that's public knowledge. But why is that part of the criteria that we have up front?
It would absolutely not be part of the evaluation criteria. Absolutely not part of the criteria, sir.
But correct me if I'm wrong, that's what this draft executive order brings forth. Do you support that draft executive order or not?
I'm not in a position to talk about the draft executive order, sir.
Well, I don't understand why you're here. It's a simple question. Do you support the draft executive order that is placed before you right now or not? Yes or no question?
I am not in a position to express an opinion about the draft.
Humada.
Well, look, the guy's in a bad position. You have Obama's counsel in the White House, who was his campaign counsel, who is sitting over there while they're hatching their reelection plans, to come up with this executive order, which would chill all this conservative money that has gone to all these outside C4 groups, just like the left has done for years. Mm-hmm. And it is the height of hypocrisy that the Obama administration is going to ask everyone who wants to get a federal grant to tell them, which these donations are already disclosed to the IRS, to tell the Obama administration so that they can know while they're deciding grants where political money goes. This is the abridgment of the First Amendment. It's disgusting, and I really
do.
Yeah, and why do they have to know? Why do they have to know? If it's not going to be part of the criteria, then why is it necessary information for them to have? And my favorite line is about transparency. Yeah. They're so committed to transparency, as we saw with, shoving a health care law we didn't want down our throats. And C-SPAN, it was all going to be on C-SPAN.
And there's an
selective
FEC,
transparency.
the Obama campaign's being investigated by the FEC because they received more cash to their campaign than any other presidential campaign, and that's not
Sally's having a nervous break. What is it?
Well, the actual facts of this executive order couldn't be more misrepresented. I mean, first of all, companies that are trying to get federal contracts already have to disclose their political contributions. They already do. This is only saying that there's an additional kind.
That's not true.
No, it is true. It's an additional kind of disclosure to shadow organizations that they have to provide.
Shadow
as well.
organizations.
Why do they need that?
Shadow organizations, also known as nonprofits.
Why do they need that additional?
It's going to apply to everyone.
Why is that necessary?
Listen, when we were just talking about Pelosi and her district getting all these waivers, if the company that got those waivers had been giving huge money to Pelosi, wouldn't you think that was relevant? So if they were getting billions in federal contracts, isn't that relevant? Don't we want to know if there's corruption? Don't we want to know?
Should the Obama administration tell the American people all the names of the people who gave them all that cash in his campaign?
Yeah,
yes.
Don't we deserve that transparency?
And as far as I know,
so you can't have selective transparency, is what I'm saying. You can't be selective.
Well,
if that's going to be your motto,
transparency and then be for it. I mean, come on, you're either for it or you're getting. So the point is, don't we want to know when we have corruption in our contracts?
I want to know when we have corruption with Obamacare waivers to Pelosi's district. But we got to run. Guys, good panel tonight. Thank you. When we come back, legendary actor Rob Lowe to talk about Charlie Sheen and liberalism in Hollywood. Now is the one and only Rob Lowe. Stories I only tell my friends. Very nice to meet you. How are you?
It's great to meet you, Sean.
I love the title of this book.
Thank you.
Stories I only tell my friends, because there are certain things that I only tell certain special people in my life.
Right.
All right, except they're not Charlie Sheen. They're not Sean. By the way, Sean Penn's a lunatic. I don't care how nuts Sheen is. Sean Penn's a left-wing lunatic. You know that.
Somebody told me that he didn't put his hand on his heart for the national anthem.
Yeah, I heard that.
Is it true?
I only read it. I didn't see it.
Listen, he's a great actor, and actually, if you met him, you actually, I'm telling you, you would
become friends.
You would spar heavily, but you would find him really bright.
First of all, two things interested me about you. Number one, you found sobriety and you've been sober for 20 years. Do you mean completely?
21 this week, but who's counting?
All right, 21 years this week. How in that environment in Hollywood are you able to do that? Because I got to assume that that's not easy.
I don't think staying sober in Hollywood is necessarily much harder than anywhere else. Sobriety is something that you work on, and for me, it's been a lifesaver and a life changer. I did make different choices once I got sober to sort of help me live my new life, and one of them was moving out of Hollywood and focusing on my family and things like that.
But you moved north to Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
When Charlie Sheen, and I'm not going to divulge in any way, I actually had a little battle going back and forth with him. I got his number. I texted him.
Yeah, oh, good.
And then we started texting a little bit. Then he stopped when I started really hitting him with some truth. And I felt like he's just not ready. Now, you're sober 21 years.
Right.
Here's your friend that you're watching implode. You tell a really fascinating story how a lot of actors ended up in the Sheen's house, and there was a group of you, very competitive, but you were all supportive of each other. Yeah. And so my question to you is, when you see a friend of yours, after you've had your battles, imploding publicly like this, is there anything you can do to help this guy?
Well, I talk about this in the book about what my relationships. These are the people that I grew up with when I was 13. We all have these people in our lives, people that you may go years without talking to, and then when you see them, you're right back to where you were. I still reach out to Charlie. I love him very much. He knows I'm worried about him. He knows we agree to disagree on the best way to stay sober and get sober. He's living life his own way now.
The other thing is, I know you talk about it in the book, otherwise I wouldn't bring it up, but the sex tape, which I forget what year it was, but that was really a wake-up call for you.
Yeah, oh, totally.
And you never want to be, you said something to the effect you don't want to be the first.
I said being a trailblazer was overrated.
Yeah, it's because I think you said you went into seclusion after that. That really traumatized you.
Yeah.
Because there was an underage girl that you met in a nightclub where you had to be 21.
Oh yeah, they grilled me on my age, so I figured, everybody in there was grilled like I was, and everybody was,
So it wasn't something you did. All right, but it also woke you up.
Yeah.
So that was bottom for you?
Well, it was a year later, actually. I mean, that was the beginning of me questioning what I was doing with my life. And then finally, at the end for me was, my grandfather had gotten very ill. I was unable to be there for him in the way that I wanted to because of my condition.
Were you drunk all the time?
No, I was
functioning.
Highly functioning, and never when I worked.
Mm-hmm. All right, you were pretty liberal. You knew you weren't coming on the show and getting away with it.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right, so you were pretty liberal. You supported Mike Dukakis.
I can always pick a winner, Sean.
Now you sound like Bob Beckel. But you changed a little bit. You're now a registered independent.
Yes.
So why is Hollywood so liberal?
Well, first of all, I think it has a long tradition of being a highly democratic town. You get that perspective sort of over and over and over and over. And, one of the great things about Hollywood liberals is their passion and their ability to stand out and really try to get things done. You can agree or disagree, but they're very, very vocal. And I admire, and I think it's a good thing.
When I think of the old days of Hollywood, Ronald Reagan, granted he wasn't at the top of the act, Jimmy Stewart, Bob Hope, and all the work that he did for the troops, I don't really sense that duty to country that we felt when we were growing up or in my parents' generation.
Well, listen, I can give you the names. I mean, you have Gary Sinise, who works tirelessly.
He's a friend of mine.
Right, and Gary's one of the great guys, and there's so many others. But here's what I think. I think that artists build their art around empathy. Mm-hmm. I think that liberal politics is built on empathy. Mm-hmm. I think conservative politics, from my opinion, is built on
common sense,
logic. Mm-hmm. And logic and empathy, it's like left brain, right brain stuff. So I just think naturally empathetic artists are drawn to that.
Well, listen, congratulations on your career. More importantly, it's really nice to get a kind of refreshing Hollywood story. You love your family, your kids, and also, to be totally honest, is a lot of fun. Tell Sean Penn I said hi.
I will. Thank you.
And good luck with Charlie Sheen.
Thank you.
Now, before we go tonight, I'd like to say a few quick words about the passing of a dear friend of the show, baseball legend, all-around class act, Harmon Killebrew. Now, the always humble Hall of Famer, he lost his long-term battle with cancer today at the age of 74. Now, former MLB Hall of Famer George Brett, he told the Arizona Republic that Killebrew was, quote, a fierce competitor, a perfect gentleman at the same time. You don't see the two of them together very much. A true American idol, a great, great, great American, Harmon Killebrew. He'll be missed. And that is all the time we have left this evening. And thank you for being with us. Let not your heart be troubled. The news continues. Greta's next to go live on the record, and we'll see you tomorrow night.